Okay, we're going to look at the distance between 2 points formula. Okay, so where does it come from and how does it work? Okay, well, I'm going to show a little picture here. So, in this picture, if we have 2 points, P1 and P2, and we want to find the distance between the two of them. Really all we need to do is break this down into a right triangle. Okay? So if we break this down into a right triangle, then we can find the distance along here. It's the hypotenuse of a right triangle, as long as we know this side and this side. So if the 2 points are -6, 4, call that x1 and y1, okay? Then the other point is 4, -2 down here. We draw this triangle, we can see that the height is y2 minus y1. Okay, so, or y1 minus y2. The negatives won't matter in this when you plug it into Pythagorean Theorem, because you're going to square these lengths, and that will make the negative positive. Okay, so the height of this triangle is from y equal to -2 all the way up to y equal to 4. So from -2 to 4 is 6. And then the length of this triangle, the base, is going to be from -6 all the way to 4. So from -6 to 4 is 10. But if you do x2 minus x1, then you'll get 10 that way. Okay? So these 2 points could have been over here somewhere, and then you would have just subtracted the lower from the higher. When they're on opposite sides, it's not as obvious. You can't add -6 to 4 because that would give you -2, and that's definitely not the length of this. Okay. Once you've got those two lengths, you've got 10 and -6 as the lengths, well, you plug it into Pythagorean Theorem. Okay. So Pythagorean Theorem is the hypotenuse squared equals one side squared plus the other side squared. Okay, so x2 minus x1 is the length of the base. y2 minus y1 is the length of, or the height of the triangle, and you plug that in and you get the distance or between the 2 points, or the length of the hypotenuse, is square root of 136, which rounds to about 11.66. Okay, so now using this formula like this, we can just square root both sides. Okay, so change that squared, put a square root over there, and then you have one nice little formula right here. Okay. So the formula for distance between 2 points is simplified to this. Delta x means the change in x, which is just x2 minus x1. So these are like the numbers that you'd use for slope. Okay, so this is like the run, and this is the rise of the triangle. All right, so let's take a look at a picture I've drawn here of some points. Okay, some graphs. If you look at these 2 points here, A and B. Okay. A and B. So A is 1, 1, B is 3, 1. And you can obviously tell that the distance between the two is 2 units. Okay? The y's don't change, so it doesn't go up or down. It just goes across in the x direction from 1 to 3. So the distance should be 2 units. Well, let's try that out in this formula over here. Okay, so the distance formula means takes x2 minus x1 squared, y2, which is 1, minus y1 squared. 1 minus 1 is 0, so when you square it, you get 0. 3 minus 1 is 2, so you get 2 squared. The square root just gives you 2, which is what we logically got here. Okay. Let's take a look at another set of points over here. This one here, call it point C, which is -3, 1. And this is D, -3, -2. Well, if you look at it, it crosses the line here. It's going to have a distance of 3 units. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. It goes from -2 in the y all the way up to 1, and that's 3 units. The x doesn't change, so it doesn't have any distance there. So let's go over here. The distance is going to be negative 3 minus negative 3. Okay, so negative 3, which is the x, minus negative 3. And that's just going to be a plus. So negative 3 plus 3 is 0. 0 squared is 0. And then negative 2 minus 1, which is the y, so negative 2 minus 1, okay, which gives me a negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Square root of 9 is 3, and that gives us the right length for that. Okay. Now the more complicated one, so E and F. Here you're going to look for the length of this side and the length of this side, square them, square root, and you'll get the length of the hypotenuse. Okay, so as I've done right here, okay, so the difference in the x's, difference in the y's, that gives you the lengths of the two sides, square them, square root, and you get the length of the hypotenuse, which is the distance between those 2 points. Okay, and some more examples on this. Some basic points are right here. Okay, and you can pause and check them out. You didn't have to draw a picture for them if you can just shove them into the formula.